Hey, Ralphie Radio Show. Last time we caught up with this guy was actually backstage when he was opening up for New Kids on the Block. He's got a new single, new album coming out as well. We'll catch up again with Mr. Jesse McCartney. Hi, Jesse.
How's it going, Ralphie? How you doing?
I'm doing great. You know, I think we just barely missed each other last weekend. I was in Los Angeles for the VMAs.
Oh, yeah. I probably was in the same room at one point. There were so many people there.
Yeah. Were you on the white carpet or no?
I wasn't. I came in and I was at the radio forum and dropped by and said hi to some people, but I was on my way out. I had a dinner that night. I had to get out of there pretty early, but okay. I missed you.
You know what? Actually, we didn't miss each other at the radio forum. Let me ask you something, though, because that was my first award show, right? And there were 135 media outlets on the white carpet. I was media outlet number 135. I was the very last one.
Oh.
Yeah. See, I know where this is going. There are some artists that I got to see, and it was cool. Other artists I didn't see at all. Now, you've walked a red carpet before, obviously.
Yeah.
Is there like a publicist with you basically saying, hey, after like this point, we can just leave? Is that how it works?
Most of the time. I mean, you gotta have somebody walking you down the carpet so that you don't get swamped and that you're not stuck on the carpet for 3 hours.
Of course.
And they have a hard showtime that starts at a certain time. You gotta be in your seat. But yeah, man, as an artist, we try to do our best to stop in and talk to as many people as we can.
All right. Well, one person I did get to speak with, and I just found out that I believe you're working with him. Actually, no, he told me actually on the white carpet that he's working with you on this next album, is the one Mr. Kevin Rudolph.
Kevin Rudolph, man. Kev's my man.
Yeah, so you're working with him, Sean Garrett as well. Do we have a release date on the new album, a title, anything? What can you give me?
I don't have a title for you yet, but I will have an album for you early 2011.
Okay, early 2011, and you have a single for me already called Shake.
It's a cool song, man, and the thing about this record is that it's very close to Departure, which was my last album.
Right.
And I sort of wanted to bridge the gap between that record and this new album and sort of refamiliarize everybody with my sound and have them know, like, oh yeah, that's Jesse's record.
Yeah, that's the one thing I noticed when I listened to this track. We're talking with Jesse McCartney here on the Ralphie Radio Show. I know with the last album you moved in a more rhythmic R&B direction, and it seems like you're keeping with that direction because obviously it worked for you.
Yeah, and not just that. It's just where my heart is, man. I love rhythmic music. I grew up listening to R&B and soul music, and I feel like as an artist, that's what I'm best at. And, at the age of 23 now, I feel like I'm really coming into my own in that world. And I'm becoming more and more capable and comfortable in that light. In addition to the producers and the songwriters, we heard you working with a couple big artists on this last album, mainly Ludacris, of course, on How Do You Sleep, and T-Pain as well. Do you have a wish list for this next album? Who do you want to work with? Who do you want to get back onto this album as far from an artist perspective? It's funny. I have a little anecdote for you. I was in the studio a couple months ago, and I was working with Sean Garrett, and he just signed with Young Money.
Oh.
And Sean Garrett as an artist and as a writer, and so I was like, yeah, man. I was like, there's this one rapper, he just did a mixtape with Chris Brown called Fan of a Fan. And he goes, you talking about Tyga? And I was like, yeah, man. I was like, he's one of the new fresh faces of Young Money. I think he's super talented. And he calls him up right there on the spot, puts him on speakerphone. He goes, hey, man, what do you think of Jesse McCartney? He's like, yeah, man. He goes, I like his music, man. I mess with his stuff. I think he's dope. The next week, he came into the studio and put 16 bars on this one record called I Don't Normally Do This. And it is anybody wwho likes rhythmic or R&B music or who likes Tyga is going to love this song.
Right. Well, and as we saw with the Luda collab too, some will happen maybe even after the fact, so you kind of never know, right?
Yes, sir.
Exactly. Jesse McCartney here on the Ralphie Radio Show. Shake is the new single. We're going to feature that, of course, with the Daily Download, new album coming out next year. I remember in between the last time we spoke and now this time, you said you wanted to take a little bit of a break from the music thing as well to do some acting. Did you end up doing that?
I did, and I just finished last year an amazing independent film that won a bunch of awards at the prestigious Tribeca Film Festival, which
there you go.
An elite group of young filmmakers and writers trying to come up on the scene, and it went to Tribeca. It was called Beware the Gonzo, and it was written by Brian Guluboff, who also directed it. It was his first time directed it. He's also the guy that wrote Basketball Diaries for Leo and K-Pax for Kevin Spacey. He's an acclaimed writer, and he wrote this really cool script, and we ended up taking it over to Giffoni Film Festival in Italy. It did really well over there. And yeah, man, it gave me a break. It gave me a chance to kind of clear my mind, clear my palate from music for a minute, and just kind of dive into the acting world again, which is really where I started.
Jesse McCartney here on the Ralphie Radio Show. Again, the new single, you're going to love it. It's called Shake. You'll hear it later with the Daily Download. Of course, the new album coming out next year. Always a pleasure talking with you, sir, and best of luck here as we end up 2010.
Thanks a lot, Ralphie. Always a pleasure, man.
Shorty hit me up, said she wanna